Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about ancient Egypt and this cool idea they had called the cycle of life. Basically, it's all about how they saw life, death, and coming back to life, or rebirth. It's a pretty big deal in their art and buildings. And we're going to check out three main things: the super famous pyramids at Giza, King Tut's tomb, and the mummy of Mayerpi. Okay, first up are the pyramids of Giza. These things are seriously ancient, built over 4,500 years ago for their kings, the pharaohs. And they're huge, like ridiculously huge. The biggest one, the Great Pyramid, was almost 500 feet tall back then. That's taller than most buildings today. The Egyptians built these not just as fancy graves, but because they thought the pharaohs would live forever. The pyramids were supposed to help them, like travel the afterlife and hang out with the gods. The way they built them and how they lined them up with stars shows how much they believed in this whole living forever thing. They used these massive stone blocks, right? And they had thousands of workers building them. Imagine moving stones that big without modern machines. They probably used sleds and ramps, which is pretty smart for back then. And get this, they used to be covered in shiny white limestone, so they would have gleamed in the sun. It must have looked amazing, like a giant sparkly monument to their king. The triangle shape is also important. It's like a symbol of how solid and permanent they wanted things to be. When examining the pyramid's design, it's important to consider the elements and principles of design they exhibit. One major element is shape. The pyramids are distinguished by their pyramid silhouette. This shape represents stability and permanence, which were important concepts in Egyptian culture. The texture of the pyramids is also significant. The roughness of the limestone blocks contrasts with the smoothness of the original polished casing stones, adding visual interests. Now let's talk about King Tut's tomb. You've probably seen pictures of his golden mask, right? This tomb isn't as big as the pyramids, but it's packed with amazing art. When they found it in 1922, it was like opening a time capsule. The walls are covered in these super detailed paintings called frescoes. They used bright colors like gold and blue that are still vibrant today. These paintings show scenes of Tutankhamun in the afterlife, doing stuff he did when he was alive and meeting different gods. It's like they were creating a map or a guide for him to get to the next life safely. The art shows that they thought the afterlife would be pretty awesome, full of good stuff. It wasn't like a scary place, it was just a different kind of life. The artists used specific symbols and images that had special meanings, all to help the pharaoh on his journey. When looking at the art in the tomb, it's important to know some key terms. One main technique used is called fresco, where pigments mixed with water are applied to wet plaster. This technique helped keep the colors bright for a long time. The tomb also has relief sculptures, which are carved images that stick out a bit from the wall, making them look three-dimensional. The art includes symbols and images that carry a lot of meaning, especially about Egyptian gods and the afterlife. Okay, so mummies. This is where things get a little preserved. The mummy of Mayerpi is a cool example. They did this whole mummification process to keep the body from, falling apart. They thought you needed your body to be whole to live forever. They used this special salt called natron to dry the body out, then wrapped it in tons of lining. And they didn't just wrap it. They put special charms and jewelry in there too. It's like they were giving them power-ups for the afterlife. They also buried other stuff with people, like furniture, food, and even their pets sometimes. The book of the Dead was a big deal. It had spells and instructions to help the person get through the challenges after death. It's like a cheat sheet for the afterlife. All this stuff shows how serious they were about making sure the person had everything they needed for their next life. If we look closely at the mummy of Mayerpi, we can see different elements of design at work. For example, the curvy lines from the wrappings and decorations create a flow, guiding our eyes along the surface. The colors, especially gold and blue, represent wealth and divinity, showing how important Mayerpi was in life. And after the mummy also shows balance in its arrangement, with the body and the artifacts working together to create harmony. This balance is key for making ancient Egyptian art visually appealing. Proportion also plays a big role, as the artists aim to depict people and objects in a way that look beautiful according to their cultural ideas. So yeah, the pyramids, the King Tut's tomb, and the mummies, and the artifacts all tell us a lot about how the ancient Egyptians saw the cycle of life. They didn't see death as the end. They just saw it as moving on to a new part of the journey. The pyramids are all about the big, powerful idea of living forever. King Tut's tomb shows the more personal side of the journey and what they thought the afterlife would be like. And the mummies and artifacts show how they prepared for it, making sure they had everything they needed. It's pretty cool how their beliefs shaped their art and buildings so much. It makes you think about how different cultures see life and death, right? These ancient Egyptians were really focused on the idea that life keeps going, which is a pretty interesting way to look at things.